Good to go.
Cool. Well, welcome to the 5 or 6 people who are here. We've already had one players meeting. We had about 22 at that, so there's going to be a lot of people either watching it online or not attended the players meeting, which is their own problem. So thanks to those of you guys who are here. We'll have some time for questions at the end. Firstly, I just want to say welcome to Canberra, particularly for any interstate visitors. Hope you're enjoying the weather, and I really hope you enjoy the course. The advanced layout for those who are playing advanced is a challenging layout, so we hope that you enjoy the challenge, and play well, and good luck. We want to firstly say a big thank you to our sponsors. Our main sponsor is Choices Flooring. But we also want to give shout outs to all of our affiliates and whole sponsors: Berg Sport, Disconnection, Oz Discs, Jindy Disc Golf Club, Disc Golf Shop, Disc Golf Warehouse, Kingfisher Disc Golf, Taki Sack, Parked Media, The Green Shed, Tattoo Power, TV Magic, Switched On Electrical Services, Cross Tasman Discs, Scotty's Gardening and Maintenance, Disc Go, and Elite Supplements. Without our sponsors, we wouldn't be able to put on this tournament, and particularly not at a B tier level. So we're pretty excited to be able to put this on at a B tier, and a big thank you to those sponsors. We also have a couple of food and drink partners. We've got Fat Boy Burgers, who will be on site each day. They'll be offering some tasty lunch options, and maybe once you finish your round, you can go and avail yourself of their options there. Also, Bees & Co. Coffee and breakfast. They're only a couple of minutes drive away from the course, and there's discount vouchers and players packs for those who get players packs. A reminder, we are sharing the park with the public, so make sure you are courteous. Pedestrians do have the right of way, and yeah. ACT Disc Golf Shop is going to be available from around 10 a.m. each day, roughly. Make sure you check out the items that are available there. Certain holes will have spotters required. We will go through the details of those. If there should be some volunteers for most of those holes. So the holes are holes 3, 8, and 18. We do have some volunteers, but if they're not there, then the card will need to spot for the other players. Circles, 10-meter circles around the baskets are marked in blue, and all other OB and drop zones are marked in white. There will be a practice and warm-up area available near headquarters, or utilise the unused holes at the southern end of the course near the entrance. There's 4 holes there that we are not using, and you can use those for warm-up if you are there during the day after the initial tee time. Tee times for tomorrow have all been published, and they're available on PDGA. For those who are playing the advanced course, there has been a slight change, and make sure you keep on checking the tee times, because there could be some last minute withdrawals. I've already had a couple today, so I've had to make some changes. Make sure you recheck your tee times. The original tee time last tee off was at 1:39. That's now at 1:30, so that's been shifted forward. Make sure you check your tee times, and check your tee times, and check your tee times again. Tee times for the following day will be published as soon as possible in the evening of each day, and just keep on refreshing that page and make sure you check that for the next day. Scoring is now live on the PDGA Live app for Android or iPhone, or you can go to www.pdga.com/score, and the password to enter the scoring is Sizzler with a capital S. Parking can be scarce. Most of you won't be playing first thing on Saturday morning for tomorrow morning, but there will be a lot of parking there through till 9 o'clock. That will be difficult because of all of the park runners. I just want to make normal tournament rules apply, but as the tournament director, I just want to say that I'd like everybody to make sure you stick to the time limits for throwing. 30 seconds once you've reached your disc. As a courtesy, players who are exceeding this time limit should be warned by the other players on the card before issuing an excessive time violation. The group can actually do this, or you can refer it to the TD. It's not nice when that happens, but please just make sure that everybody just, values that whole thing of playing through and keeping the flow of play, because we don't want hold-ups on the course, and we don't want things to back up. So make sure that if there's any lost discs, it just goes to the normal tournament rules of 3 minutes. If you've lost a disc, somebody starts a timer, and make sure that you stick to that and then come back and look for the disc at another time once play has finished on the course, just to avoid hold-ups and for general courtesy. Just letting you know, there have been some new rules where if an entire group is playing slowly, that the TD, myself, I can issue penalties for excessive time. And there's even a new rule where the TD can designate an official to put the group on the clock to make sure that you're playing at the correct time. Don't want to have to do that, but I just want to let you know that you've been warned. And for the sake of everybody and for courtesy's sake, just ask that you just keep play moving. A reminder that everybody has to score. Scoring is available, as I said, on the pdga.live, but if you don't have a phone, I do have some paper scoring sheets. Make sure you bring your own pencil or pen. I won't be supplying those. I will give you a sheet of paper, and then you'll need to submit those scorecards to me at the end of your round, and then I'll have to ratify them against the scores that have been input electronically. When you're doing your scoring on the course, make sure you do your scoring when you've walked to the next tee. Do not score when you're sitting around the basket and everybody's finished, because that is another way to hold up play. Make sure you score at the following tee. There's a couple of holes where there is bunting on string, which is like a white string with red triangles on it. That is not an OB line. That's simply for crowd control if people are gathering around. So particularly the water carry hole, there's some bunting there. So if people are wanting to see, people try to throw over the water, that is not an OB line. Just wanted to point that out. And also on hole 21, the final hole, as you're approaching that last basket crossing that Hazard River, there's some bunting there that it's not OB. Just wanted to point that out. Prize pools are being finalized, and now that we have final numbers, they will be published shortly on PDGA, and they will follow normal PDGA guidelines. I want to point out for hole 21, we will go through this in the walkthrough shortly. The Hazard River, the white line spray painted is the OB line, not the signs, choices flooring. They've been set back. So if your disc hits the signs and it has crossed the OB line, you are out of bounds, or you're actually in the hazard at that point. Make sure all OB lines are the white lines on the ground. All right. Hopefully we can walk through the holes fairly quickly. I'm going to hand over to Dan to walk through the holes. We'll save any questions for the end. If there's anything unclear, Dan's just going to go through the advanced layout. If there's anybody who missed the intermediate layout, we can stay on the line afterwards for anybody who missed the players meeting at 7 o'clock, which discussed the intermediate layout. But at the moment, we're just going to go through the advanced layout. Over to you, Dan.
All right. So obviously, everyone in this call, unless there are some intermediate players lurking, will be playing the gold advanced layout tee. So I'll be focusing on them, and I'll pretty much ignore the blue intermediate tees. Okay, so hole 1, it's basically the normal gold hole. The only difference this year is we've created an OB line here that joins up to the gum tree on the corner. It's mainly just to let people kind of be able to watch from the car park safely, and also to let people get out of their cars and not be in the way. So just keep in mind there is a new OB line on the left here. Other than that, it's the same. Hole 2, not really any OB in play. There is some bollards back here, but you struggle to get through those. I don't know if Phil mentioned CTP. So we're running a CTP on day 3 only. It's put into groups. So of these 3, MA1, MA2, and MA40, there'll be one CTP winner. And in total, there'll be 5 winners of CTP across all the divisions. So just keep note of your group. On day 3, there'll be a sign and a pen there and flags to put your shot down. Yeah, just keep that in mind. Hole 3, everyone's favorite OB rules in the world. Well, firstly, I'll just say this is one of the holes where we want you to spot if there's not already a volunteer spotter there. It's mainly to keep make sure that there's no one crossing the paths here, because people do sometimes walk down here, or to make sure that you're not throwing into the group in front. So if there's not a volunteer there, send someone from your card up to spot. And yeah, so some interesting OB holes for this OB rules for this hole. First one is this: there's a line here alongside the dirt path. That's regular OB. If your disc crosses that, you just play it as normal OB. But there's a special zone up here, which is marked, denoted by this straight line and the imaginary dotted line that would extend if it existed. If your disc passes that line, then there's special rules. So let me show you by way of example. If I threw my tee shot and it landed here and it crossed OB here, I would just take it from here, right? Then imagine I throw another shot and it lands here. Well, because it's before the dotted line, I would just, if it crossed OB here, I would take the shot from my next shot from here. But if it landed up here, that's when I would move to drop zone 1. So this line denotes where the special OB rules start to apply. If you just cross here, it's regular OB. If you cross anywhere up here in this zone area, that is when you would move to drop zone 1. Then when you're at drop zone 1, you either make the island safely, or you try to make the island and fail. So let's say I'm standing here, I throw a shot that lands over here. I haven't made the island from drop zone 1, so I would move straight drop zone 2, which is just outside the island. And then when I'm on drop zone 2, normal OB rules apply from then. So I could make the putt, or maybe I absolutely shank it and it goes OB over here, across here. I would take my next shot from here where it crossed and add all the OB strokes that I've accumulated over the course of the hole, and be pretty annoyed that I went OB 3 times. Hopefully that makes sense. This information's all written on the T signs. Locals generally know this rule, so if you're unsure, ask them. But I might just open it up for questions if anyone's got any questions in like specifically about this hole, because it's very convoluted. So just pipe up if you do. Okay, no questions. So moving on to hole 4, the bollards on the left denote the OB and long as well. And around here, there's bollards. At this point, you hit a gate, which denotes the OB, and then more bollards on the right here. The important thing to note here is this dirt path isn't OB. It's pretty common for people to land over here. You might have thought it's OB, but it's actually not OB. Hole 5, this is the rock hole, regular gold hole 14. So this one, there's nothing really crazy going on OB wise. It's just the bollards surrounding the entire hole. So, yep. Other than that, nothing else. Hole 6. The thing to note about this hole is this footpath here is an OB. It's a very popular footpath though. So if there's people walking through, milling about, just don't throw. Like wait for them to clear off before you throw. And just note it's not OB. There is water OB over here, but it's pretty tricky to get in there, though I have done that in the past. And just note the tee pad is further back than its regular spot. I've put a garbage bag over the regular tee sign here, so hopefully it's obvious when you get there. Hole 7, interesting OB elements to this. It's just the water on the right. It's pretty tough to get through there because it's very thick trees. But on the left, you might have thought this barbecue area and the bollards up here are OB. They are not OB. So just keep that in mind. If you land over here, you'll be playing your second shot rather than a penalty. And note that the basket is further back from the regular gold hole 22, where the basket's around here. It's been pushed up the hill a little bit and kind of precariously balanced on the side of the hill. Hole 8, famous beach par 5. It's an extension of the regular hole where the basket's around here. We have put a spotter required sign here. This is mainly to ensure that you're not throwing into, a group of people, or, the group in front of you's cleared the hole. Also, a spotter will be able to see where discs land because it gets a bit dicey over here. Again, if there's no volunteer here, send someone up from the card to have a look, but there should be fairly good coverage on this hole. There's also some bunting over here just to stop members of the public crossing over. Remember, it's not OB, it's just crowd control. Hole number 9. The only thing really in play here is the footpath on the left. We haven't got a spotter required sign here because you've got very good visual all the way down the path, but this is a pretty popular path, so if there are people walking up or riding, just be careful. It's very common for shots to fade out and go OB, so just keep that in mind. Hole 10, this is gold 26. Nothing really of note. There's OB bollards long. There's also some bollards here that outline the car park. You'd have to be pretty unlucky to get a tree kick that lands in here, but it could happen. This is CTP or MPO and MP40 on day 3. Hole 11 is regular gold 27. Bollards on the left next to the road and bollards on the right next to the car park are basically the only things of interest in terms of rules. But yeah, pretty standard. Hole number 12, we've got an OB path along the left. And this is just note this, there's a Mando here, not often missed, but it's possible. If you do miss it, just proceed to the intermediate tee pad to take your next shot with penalty. So yeah, the drop zone is the actual intermediate tee. Hole 13, famous water carry hole. Hope everyone's enjoyed playing it. There's probably a few discs in this area here, OB sadly. There is a barbecue area that's OB behind and to the left, won't really come into play. There's some bunting that's been put here, hopefully to keep the crowd away. There's also, it might still be a white line, but we had planned to change it to a red line because it was mistakenly painted white. It's not OB, so unless it's OB in the caddy book, it's not OB. So just note that it's just an extension of the bunting, so hopefully people don't cross it. If you go OB and never come back in, then it's pretty much a re-tee. Like you could go from the water's edge here, but it's not very comfortable. But if you cross inbounds up here somewhere, that's a card decision, so really keep an eye on each other's discs, then you would obviously proceed up here. Regular OB rules apply if you did cross inbounds up here. And if discs land in the water, only grab them if you can kind of reach them straight away. Don't stick around and get in the water, and it's just going to cause backups. So just come back at the end of the day if that happens. Hole 14 is regular gold 3, but the tee pad's been pushed back a bit. There is a Mando out here. It doesn't really come into play. There's no drop zone. If you miss the Mando, rethrow with 1-stroke penalty. So really don't miss this Mando. It would not be good for the scorecard. There are some bollards specifically like behind the basket. Those are not OB. It's the water. Just keep that in mind. It's very common for discs to go long and land behind the bollards. So just keep in mind that's not OB. Hole 15, similar story with the bollards. All of this here is bollards, marked with bollards, not OB. Very, very common for discs to land in here. And just keep in mind at the moment, this is an absolute disaster. It's very thick, nasty bush and scrub. So make sure you're watching each other's tee shots really closely in case someone's disc goes in this area. Water defines the OB on the right and path on the left. There's a Mando, again, it's a rethrow with penalty. If you miss the Mando, there's no drop zone, so highly recommend not missing the Mando. Hole 16 is CTP for FPO and FA1 on day 3. Nothing really in play. There's OB water and OB path, but pretty pretty tough to get through all these branches to get into the OB. Yeah, nothing too noteworthy here. Hole 17, there's a Mando left of the big Christmas tree. It's to stop people taking this right line. We've moved the T-pad over into the trees, so just keep that in mind. There is a regular gold T-pad here. You walk straight past that and go to the one in the trees here. Yeah, Mando Christmas tree halfway up the fairway. There is a drop zone that's in quite a tricky spot, so don't miss the Mando if you want to get a decent score on this hole. Path is the definer of OB on the right and bollards on the left. Hole 18, OB path left, OB water right, which isn't going to come into play. This is one where a spotter is an absolute must because there's a big downhill section here that you won't be able to see off the tee. It's a very popular path. So just send someone up to the top of the hill. There probably will be spotters, like volunteer spotters there all day, but in case, they go to the toilet or whatever, just send someone up from your card to watch. And yeah, make sure that there's no one potentially in play when people throw. And, just use your common sense when it comes to throwing safely. The basket is further down the hill and tucked away. The basket's usually around here. So very tricky bird, but it's doable. Hole 19, OB-wise, it's just a path on the left and the bollards on the right. I mean, these lines are just, yeah, it's choose your own adventure. You can go any of left, right, middle. You can do whatever you want on this hole. Even when you're here, you can go left, you can go right. So, yeah, nothing crazy going on in terms of OB or Mandos or anything like that. Pretty basic. Hole 20 is the big par 5. Bollards defining the OB on the right, and there's a car park up here, which is defined by bollards. Footpath on the left. Nothing else noteworthy. Hole 21. Yeah, this one is interesting. So we've got choices signs that are planted here, here, and behind the basket. It's important to note, like Phil said, those are not the OB lines. The OB lines are painted on the ground. Those are the actual lines. The choices signs are close to the OB lines, but they are not the actual OB lines. So just keep that in mind when you walk up to your disc. This is not an OB area, it's a hazard area. So for those who aren't aware, if your disc landed here, for example, you wouldn't take it to where it crossed over here. You would play it from where it lies inside the hazard and add a 1-stroke penalty. So if my tee shot landed here, I would be throwing my next shot from here and it would be my 3rd stroke, as opposed to taking it where it crossed. The back line up here is really just so people have a spot to sit and watch other cards come in, which I recommend people do because it should be pretty interesting. That's regular OB. It's not hazard. These lines extend to infinity. They're only marked up to kind of tree line areas, but just basically stand there and, continue the line on forever as though it were painted there. And if it gets complicated, it's a card decision. If cards still can't decide, it goes to the TD. Play it both ways, take photos, and then come see Phil after the round. And what I've just mentioned there about the choices signs not defining the OB, that's true on hole 3 as well. So there are painted lines here and here and painted lines here. They extend to infinity at certain points. Just keep in mind, it's not the actual signs that define the OB, it's the lines on the ground. Yeah, I might open it up to questions. There's probably been some in the chat while I was talking. Luke has asked if there's any relief from the blackberry bushes. Yes, in the sense that there's general casual relief in the rules for something that's kind of harmful. We can designate those spiky blackberry / berry, whatever berry they are, bushes as special casual relief. Phil, maybe we could send an email out about that. So the idea would be that if you find yourself stuck inside a blackberry bush and unable to get to your disc safely, then you could draw a line backwards along the line of play and throw from the first available spot, not nearer the basket and not any further back than you need to go to establish a safe stance. So you can't just, if you're saying there's no blackberry bush here, but let's say that's a blackberry bush and you're here and you can't access your disc, you would play it from like here. You wouldn't be able to like keep walking backwards to open up the line. You walk backwards to the first point that it's playable. So keep that in mind. Blackberry bushes are mainly along the shoreline, only really coming into play on a few holes. But yeah, just discuss it with your card mates and feel we can.
Yeah, I think that's the key is discuss it with your card, and if the card all agrees that it's physically dangerous, otherwise normal play applies. If you can put your foot behind where the disc is lying, then you should be able to play it. But only if you're going to get spiked by blackberry, then discuss it with the card and then take relief.
Yeah, and we'll send out something along those lines.
I'll send a message on the PDGA Live app on that one.
Cool. Adam has asked, is there OB long of basket on 3 again? So go by the lines that are painted on the ground, and I actually believe this one might have extended to infinity. So there might not be this element here. It's really the lines on the ground that decide what the truth is, I guess. So if there's a line here that just suddenly stops, then you would extend it to infinity. Cool, Adam says. Thanks, Adam. Any other questions? Oh, I'm here late, but where the OB in relation to bollards has, we've explained that.
I'll explain.
Oh, we haven't explained the inside edge thing.
I'll explain that.
Yeah,
so where OB is marked on the caddy card is to be a line of bollards. It's the inside line. So you draw an imaginary line on the inside line of the bollard. So it's not the fence line. It's the inside line of the bollard. So if there is a fence with bollards along the side of a road, it's the inside line. Yeah, the uprights. That's it.
Yeah, and it's never the horizontal bollards. It's always the upright bollards and the inside edge of those bollards. Thanks, Jade.
Any other questions?
Just quickly, in terms of HQ, there'll be a marquee set up here where you go and check in with Phil and tell him your sponsors, where you're from, anything like that. There'll be some practice baskets set up maybe around here, and a few practice nets. Just keep in mind that people will be teeing off throughout the day, so don't walk across the fairway here at all. Go around and try not to be too rowdy while people are teeing off. In fact, why not watch them tee off? It's pretty fun. Yeah, try not to get in the line of play here. We're not going to have a specific boundary here, so just use your common sense. And if Phil yells at you, you know you're in trouble.
All right, well, if there's no more questions, I wish everybody good luck for tomorrow. Make sure you have a good time. Be courteous to each other and other park users, and hope you enjoy the weekend. Good luck.
Thanks, everyone.